Assetto Corsa Evo is easily one of the most exciting racing games of 2025. The huge open-world map of German countryside surrounding the famous Nürburgring Nordschleife that developer Kunos is currently crafting for it should make it one of the biggest in the genre. Literally, that is. The map is going to be 1,600 square kilometers in size. That's about 15 Forza Horizon 5s. However, we'll need to be patient for that, as the first chunk of it isn't set to arrive in Evo's evolving early access version until mid-year, and then grow from there. For now, at least, we get 5 tracks and 20 cars to noodle around in. The good news is that the driving feel is unsurprisingly fabulous, right out of the gate. At this point, however, that's essentially it. It's hard to argue Evo makes a strong case as an immediately crucial purchase in this early state if you're not especially keen on taking some warm-up laps before the main event kicks off. It'd be unfair to haul Assetto Corsa Evo over the coals too severely for its current technical blemishes. Yes, I've had it hitch up and drop frames occasionally, and yes, it's crashed or frozen on me several times following its launch. Although I've certainly had lengthy stints on track where it's been entirely cooperative on my current high-powered PC setup. Overall, it's admittedly not running on all cylinders right now, but that's the nature of early access as a concept. We obviously need to be prepared for it to be a little more Alfa Romeo than Alfa Romeo at this point. And while 5 circuits and 20 available cars is modest, it does make for a decent amount of combinations to experiment with. And that's without factoring in the adjustable wet weather options that obviously have very real effects on handling. If you think you'll be happy to simply hot lap solo around the initial tracks, which include Mount Panorama, Brands Hatch, Imola, Laguna Seca and Suzuka, Evo's early access version may keep you busy for at least a few days. It's certainly worth remembering that the early access program for Evo's immediate predecessor, Assetto Corsa Competizione, launched with just a single car and a single track, the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 race car and the Nürburgring GP circuit. By comparison, Evo's launch is at least a considerably chunkier one. Moreover, it's a well-curated one. Notice, for instance, the first salvo of circuits includes a track from the US, Japan, the UK, continental Europe, and Australia. That's a thoughtful mix that I don't doubt was deliberate. Similarly, the short but sweet car list includes a spectrum of vehicles ranging from front-wheel drive hatches to purpose-built race models. The feel of the cars I've tested so far has been top-notch. I won't pretend to be able to gauge the accuracy of the tyre model with the kind of insight you might glean from a professional racing driver, because I'm not one. I'm a car nerd journalist with a handful of track days in my past that I'm skeptical I'll ever be able to afford to repeat. What I can say is that the sensation of grip is excellent, and I was instantly confident to push hard across the top of the mountain at Bathurst. Things always get a little murky when I'm comparing experiences gleaned many years ago using totally different racing setups. I personally migrated from a Thrustmaster TSXW racing wheel to a direct drive Mazda R12 some years ago. But Evo already seems to have nailed that feeling of being able to overdrive a car but still snap it back under control, because the grip will return as long as you wrestle it back into the window. That always suits me, as I'm a bit more of a butcher than a surgeon when it comes to racing sims these days. Forget the whole world turning into ice the second you slip into a slide. Evo is wonderfully intuitive. Compared to ACC, race cars also feel a little less punishingly stiff and cling to the track more tenaciously, even while clattering over bumps or curbs. In ACC, I generally felt I was going as fast as I could without losing control. In Evo, I feel like I could probably push faster, if I had the skill, that is. There's also a really great feeling of balance, especially as cars squirm under braking, and the feel of the front end becoming lighter and heavier based on elevation changes is nice and pronounced. So yes, in the tradition of the original Assetto Corsa and ACC before it, Evo is already a genuinely terrific driving experience. But does that make this first taste a must-play? Right now, no, not really. If you get it today, you're essentially just pre-ordering the final game at a slightly discounted price. That alone could be reason enough for you to grab it, and it's a totally fair argument. However, other than confirming it feels good, there's just not really much more joy to extract from Evo for the time being. As a man who peeled countless demo discs from the front of magazines back in the 90s, I've certainly got nothing against what's essentially a hefty demo. But it's not one I really want to keep playing anymore after seeing all of its tracks. But I'll definitely be back for more when it's available and some of the more annoying aspects have been resolved. Simply put, the racing itself just isn't that robust at the moment, and it's tedious being punted off track by computer-controlled opponents who simply try to drive through you around corners. I don't know what the answer is, but the AI certainly still needs work. There have definitely been times when other cars seem to be deliberately giving me racing room, and others where they've made unscripted mistakes. That's good, because it creates the illusion they're not just machines. It's also true that getting speared into from behind is an unfortunate reality in real racing. Incidents happen, sure, but it'd be something that would happen to you quite irregularly in reality, whereas it's far too common in Evo for racing to remain fun. If I wanted to get rear-ended for kicks, I'd brake-check Lance Stroll in a drive-thru. That's a pretty big problem when these races are largely all Evo offers in its current condition. There were supposed to be some other modes available based on what was announced when the early access version launched, but ever since I started playing, Evo has been stuck in offline mode. Evo's Driving Academy mode and special events are currently inaccessible to me. All I can do is generate custom practice or race sessions. Tying functionality to an always online caveat is very concerning, and I cannot fathom why it's necessary for single-player content. Fortunately, there's still plenty of time for Kunos to tweak that on the roadmap ahead. Assetto Corsa Evo already feels absolutely fantastic behind the wheel, but with aggravating AI opponents slamming into you every which way and hamstrung as it is by online-only features that are currently inaccessible, it doesn't feel like an essential early access purchase. The handling may be excellent, but I'll be parking it up and waiting for the finished product, including the promised epic-sized map of Germany, before I put the keys back in the ignition. For more initial verdicts on early access projects,